Welcome to the Lead Up Leadership Podcast. Hear from rising leaders and seasoned leaders across various industries to see about their leadership journey and how you can level up your leadership game. Here's your host, Renato G. Lead up!
What's going on, everybody? We are back with another episode of the Lead Up Leadership Podcast, and I'm super excited. I got some special guests with me. I got brother Armoni and brother Ishmael with Project Optimism. Welcome, guys, to the Lead Up Podcast.
What's
that's
up?
right. You got to throw up the O's, right? Yep, got to throw up the O's. Well, I appreciate both of you guys making some time to hop on here and just really share about your journey. But before we get to Project Optimism, just quickly, I want to share, hear from you guys, kind of like your backgrounds, your stories, and maybe even how both of you guys even got connected. So maybe Armoni, you want to kick it off, and then Ishmael?
True.
And I got tagged on first. He was like, cool. So Renato, man, you a good dude. So we're grateful to finally, it took a while, but we here now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But from the top, where do you start? Because I'm trying to do a better job of just being sometimes. Sometimes we talk about where we're from, where we come from, who we know. And I'm getting too deep already, but I'm just trying to be more assertive on just being I'm Armoni, and everything else kind of is a part of it, but it's not the end all be all. So anyway, I'm gonna give you the other stuff. So I'm from the Bay Area, lived all over the place, from Richmond, but lived in Oakland, lived in Fairfield, lived in Vallejo. A lot of my middle school, high school was in Vallejo, so that's still second home. Then moved to Sacramento like mid high school. Went to Florence for 2 seconds, then Monterey Trails. Left for Fresno State for a little bit.
Wow.
Was people pleasing like a mug. Because it's funny because people think I went to Sac State. Like I have people that were ready to fight me saying I went to Sac State, but I didn't. I was just passing out a whole bunch of flyers for club events and concerts back in the day, right? But went to Fresno State, went to all the city colleges. And fell in love with this work where I got to meet Ishmael Pruitt, the great, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but all over the place, and it benefited me tremendously when it come down to social capital. But let me just stop there.
Yeah,
That's deep. That's real. And what's going on, everybody? Ishmael Pruitt. I'm actually learning to embrace this, but I'm from Vacaville. It took me a while because we don't get enough street cred. People think that it's all peachy in Vacaville, and it's nice. I will say I appreciate the privilege I got. But nonetheless, that's where I'm from. But I moved all around Northern California and Southern California. I actually got, tapped in with this work, just observing life, just seeing how one decision would change someone's life, specifically people who looked like us. We didn't get a lot of chances because we didn't have the support and the people to advocate for our needs, and decided I wanted to go into law enforcement initially. That didn't really work out how I wanted to, but God had another plan. I actually went to Sacramento State to get my degree in criminal justice, and for some reason I didn't pass the background check. I really don't know how I did not pass the background check, but
we know why. Remember that one car that just
stop.
Because you're from Vacaville, man. That's
something. But nonetheless, I entered like I won't call it depression, but I was really confused. Like I did everything that society told me I was supposed to do, especially as a young Black male, and I still didn't pass the background check. But at that moment, I had to do some reflection, like how am I still going to live out my purpose outside of the juvenile or criminal justice system? And that's when I started getting more intentional with youth development, working in the foster care agencies. Went back to school to get my master's in counseling at Long Beach State, and been working as a student affairs professional while co-creating and co-building Project Optimism. So that's me in a nutshell.
Hey, Renato, man, you getting some hot takes, bro. Like
I know.
Some of the stuff I know, you got it. Oh, you exclusive. I see what you're doing here.
Hey, I got to bring everything to the light, man. So
appreciate it.
What better?
You are a light, bro. Remember that.
Okay, I appreciate it, man. So let's dive into kind of the story of how you guys met. I know Marty kind of touched on it a little bit, but how did you guys initially meet, and what was that interaction like?
So if I can give you the colorful version for the sake of the podcast.
There you go.
We both actually worked at a children's receiving home in Sacramento. And I will confidently say I felt like I was like the best residential advisor there. Like I felt like people were good with the kids, but I had a level of confidence. Like they looked at me as like authority figure / big brother. They respected me. They did their chores, their homework when I was on my shift. So I was like, I got this. Like I didn't really brag, but I had a level of confidence. And our Armoni would come around, and it was like, who is Ishmael? They was dapping him up. They had his Armoni had this real nice Challenger. Ooh. So when he would park it by the basketball hoops, everyone was like, "Ooh, Armoni here!" And people would like run to the gate and be looking. And I'm like, "Who is this cat like stunting on my parade?" And then he would just do his rounds, say what's up to everyone. He'll come play video games, play for like 4 minutes and leave like starstruck. So for the longest, I would wonder like who he was. And I'm gonna go ahead and stop there and let Omar talk more about his side of the story and PI.
Because he just needs to stop all that, man. Like I can't stand this dude. But this is what happened. I had that same experience that he had because when you work in the cottage, you're all of that. You're the teacher, you're the parent, you're the mentor, you're the disciplinarian. Like you got all of those hats, right? But then I kept elevating, kept doing great things. And I was able to basically be that mentor for the whole campus. So he's absolutely right. I got to come in and do some damage control, get to do the fun stuff, or I could just pull some snacks out of nowhere. And so yeah, I got to stun a little bit. Let's be real. But he was definitely one of the best staff there. And I earned my stripes to get there. That's basically what happened, So but he's funny with it. He always say that. But what was really dope was we crossed paths at the Children Receiving Home, but we wasn't really connected yet. But that was, God is, I think he's a comedian and an artist, right? So later on, I was consistently making these spaces or creating spaces called positive images. And it was something that I knew onto something. And all I really wanted to do was connect people that I knew, once again, living all over the place. I always had that ideation that I know so many people that are doing great work. If I can get them in the room to connect, to network, to love on each other, to have those difficult conversations and just to whatever magical happen, right? So I would consistently, just because I always seen how dope he was, to tell him to come, because this is good. And he finally came to like it probably took like 20 times, but he finally came, right?
Yeah.
And normally when I'm in facilitator mode, I don't get a chance to participate, but for some reason I had a chance. And he was there. He kind of wanted to be, and it happens sometimes people want to kind of be low key. I'm like, oh, he don't got a partner? I'm your partner, right? But God worked in mysterious ways on the sense of whatever the question was, it allowed us to kind of see each other's passions. And me and him probably had some awkward moments where like, we still got to talk. Like, okay, this week locked in, we need to talk after this. So it led to us having multiple meetings at the local coffee shops, at the park, a lot of prayer. And that's what really connected is the fact that we pray in and out of the foundational things that Project Optimism ended up being. So I know Ish probably will say a little bit more about it, or I'll say it now, but it's a trip on, we both were supposed to start organizations on our own 3 different times, 4 different times. And it didn't happen for a reason. And to put some context on, I think what brings the elements out of me is I work for 2 different nonprofits. I work for a school district. I got 11 years under my belt of this work, so I got to see the good, the bad, the systems, the holes, the gaps, my lived experience of what qualify all of this, like Ishmael said, and it made us a machine to identify those needs and meet them and meet them like on a huge scale because we are the community, we come from these communities. But yeah, I wanted to kind of leave it there.
Yeah. No, that was pretty much it. I think just to put more emphasis on the last thing is our relationship with God, because a lot of men of color, men just in general, when I would put color in it, a lot of men are not vulnerable. And I won't even give Armoni the credit. I think he initiated the prayer initially, and I was like, yo, like my friends, I don't pray with my friends, unfortunately. And I think he opened up like this wall that I did not know existed. And I was like, oh, I can get with this. So then I started to be willing to lead the prayers, and we just kept saying, God, use us to do your work. And here we are about 4 years later with a team of about 10 people. We're operating in Sacramento and Los Angeles County. And this is still the beginning. That's the crazy part.
Right.
Like we always say we're in chapter 0. Like we still don't know a whole bunch, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
That's amazing. Sure. Yeah. And that's where I want to kind of continue the conversation about Project Optimism. So where did this, idea to now where it's into fruition, how did that start? What was that conversation like? Somebody who wants to kind of lead that. How did Project Optimism come into play?
Well, I would say, we both had our lived experience and said we want to do something. My favorite word, my cousin Zeke had put me onto this. My favorite word is optimism. And I just knew that optimism just meant like this hopefulness for the future. And I was like, if people felt optimistic about life, they would just move different. Like if I walked into this burning building and I knew I was going to save someone and nothing was going to happen to me, I'm going to do it every time. Mm-hmm. And I was like, how could we get people with this mindset? And in fact, Armoni actually sent me a picture of notes from our first meeting today. And in my notes, I said, I'm very firm on the name. I'm stuck or sold on the name optimism. Like we got to keep that in there. And we were playing with it. He was like, okay, how can we integrate positive images, or do we switch it up? And then we just thought about the whole community as a project. Like there's so many things that needs to be done. And obviously our experience is directly connected with the youth, but we can't just focus on the youth themselves, because we got to focus on their environment. We got to focus on their parents. There's so many different pieces. So This community is a very big project, and the expertise of the community members, their lived experience is enough to bring them to this project to create the change that we wanted to see. So with that, we just said, like, this is a big art project. I keep saying the word project, but that's really what it is. Yeah. And everyone kind of does their thing. Some people know how to color in the line. Some people could, draw the edges real quick, get creative and all that stuff. So if everyone does a little, no one has to do a lot.
Let's get it. That's a great quote. Yeah. I just want to add, and I want to say, I thank God for us that we stuck with optimism, because First and foremost, a lot of pride had to be put aside for us to merge our ideas. Let's be clear on that.
Yeah.
But when I started really studying the word and embodying the word, that's absolutely me, So like I got blessed with Ish being firm on that word, and realizing that this is literally all of us. Everything that we've been through, everything. You know what? Let me go. Let me tell you what we're doing. Let me give you the code. So like one of the epiphanies I had recently is optimism for us essentially is faith. To have optimism is to have faith. So we're not a faith-based organization. We want to be able to reach anybody that believe in anything, but we know that we're leaders that believe in God, So that's something that really hit me the other day. But ultimately, like, the optimistic mindset is a game changer. We tell our young people all the time, anybody we encounter, that it's a superhero power. And we haven't looked back ever since. And that's something that even with our new staff, when we have our orientations that we're building up right now, that's what we want to impute on everybody to walk through these Project Optimism doors, virtually, physically, everywhere, So I just want to add on to what you said, bro. And I fell in love with not even just the word, but being, just being optimistic, just being there.
Yeah.
No, that's huge. That's huge. And I love the work, man. I think one of the very first experiences that I had was with Armoni when we did I think giving out food and water to the, I forget what.
Loaves and Fishes, possibly?
Loaves and Fishes, that's right. And just seeing the community, right, come out and support and show love and walking throughout the streets and giving our time and even I think at the end when we circled up, like, we had a time of prayer, right? So that really impacted me and left a mark. And to see you guys now, right? I know, Ishmael, we've never met, but just seeing the work, Project Optimism, SAC, and now LA. And maybe that's where I kind of want to continue that conversation. Talk to me, what is that like to be in two different places, but accomplishing the mission? And go for it, Armoni.
Yeah. And I just want to acknowledge, because I want Iz to talk about the expansion, but I wanted you acknowledge one of our niches, and it's our approaches. For the community, by the community. That's the best way we're going to do it. And that's something that we've took and ran with it. So we get to a point where we do day of services where we can get like 50 volunteers that show up to something, but it's because we created something and we stay consistent. So it is it's beautiful that you caught that. And but going back to your question, sorry about that.
Yeah, so it's difficult. I'll be very transparent. It's very difficult. I think that the blessing behind this, when I transitioned out here, I was in grad school and I was a 3-year counseling master's program. And in that time, I wouldn't even say I had to lean on money. I had to depend on him to continue to carry out the mission in a standard that I felt like was appropriate. And it's kind of difficult when you have 2 co-CEOs with 2 different leadership styles from different community. Like we're just different. We're alike in many ways, but we're different. But it was like God has gotten us where we were before I left. Let's put faith. And he was just kept killing it as if he had another Ishmael down there. He like, oh, bro, we got this. He kept saying, we got this contract. Like, bro, I'm in grad school. What you mean we? And he's like, don't worry about it. Like, I'm going to plug us in. We're going to do this one. And he would just keep me updated. He valued my opinion throughout the whole process because I'll be very transparent. For about 3 years, it was just Armoni. And I was doing like consulting, giving him feedback. And the fact that he kept my input just as valuable as his through the whole process. Through the whole process, I felt like, oh, it's on like Donkey Kong. So when I graduated, and there was a couple of times too, I had this guilt, to be honest, this level of guilt, like he's over there grinding and he came off the job. And I was like, yo, like he's really taking a leap of faith and I can't meet him halfway right now. But he kept saying, what you learning over there is going to be a game changer. Just go ahead and maximize it. So that gave me a level of confidence to kind of sit back and like, let me take everything that I can get from this program so that when I'm done, we can kind of hit the ground running. And I got to learn through his mistakes or our mistakes. And then as soon as I graduated with my program, he had built so much, or at least started the process of building so much that I could just kind of take it and transfer it and continue to enhance it. I think that made it easier. Now, one of the things that is really difficult being in a completely new area is my network is very limited. So in Northern California, I was at undergrad for 5 years. Then I lived there for about 2 years before I went to Los Angeles. So 7 years of networking, professional youth development experience between schools, all my mentors, all that stuff in Sacramento. In Los Angeles County, it's just my professors and people that I've met in the last 3 years. And I'm in grad school, so it's not a whole bunch of people, to be honest. So I realized that we had to come with it every single time. It wasn't, I couldn't charm them with my personality and my degree. It was like, well, let me see your website and let me see your proposals. So it's still a challenge. And it just reminds me that I have to kind of really build things out to kind of prove our quality of work, especially when we get on calls. I don't know, I'm talking a little bit, maybe I might can jump in, but
doing good. Keep going.
When we like jump on calls, we had a call with the school district here in LA County, and you could tell that there was a sense of like disbelief, almost like, where's the CEO at? And they didn't really say that, but you can tell they weren't expecting high energy young Black men to be on a call and calling themselves the CEO of an organization, pitching 5-figure contract opportunities and such, you know? So that we have to realize our positionality in this whole process. I mean, in Sacramento too, but then when you don't have no equity in a game, I don't have, school districts vouching for me and saying, oh, Ishmael's a great employee, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. All my networks are saying that it's a conflict of interest because I work for the university. So it actually works against us in a lot of cases. So in short, it has been humbling, but I like the work, and God has literally supported us throughout the whole way. So if we can get through 3 years of 1.5 CEOs, then 2 years, and both of us is gonna be crazy.
He just graduated. He killing it right now, bro. Like, we locked in for almost 2 contracts already, So it's like he can be as tough on him. He can be as tough on himself as he want to be. But I'm gonna tell him right now, like, you the truth, bro.
That's love.
It's so cool to just see him move, and like we complement each other so much because we're so different that it's a blessing. And optimistic mindset. The pandemic, COVID, has been a blessing to us. You know, one of the things that we was able to do, one of our programs called NEAR Academy. It was only going to be in LA at one point. And we're like, oh, shoot, if it's virtual, let's get kids from literally from LA to Fresno to Sacramento and Bay Area and back. And let's get them on one platform. Mm-hmm. You know what that's led us to think big picture down the road is that we create these platforms where, yes, it's still in person when things get back to normal, but then we still have a virtual platform for them to connect. And at the end of the year, between Long Beach State or Sac State, that they get to do a weekend trip where they all get to meet together at a conference.
That's dope.
Yeah. That's seeing the silver lining. Platinum lining. How about that?
There you go.
Like come on, you know. So I just want to put things in context that like we're always searching for, and we do like little fun activities where we'll have students or we'll have college students, whoever we're working with, we'll have them find as many things in the room that's white, find as many things in the room that's square. And like the point of that activity is just to get them to understand that whatever you look for, you will see.
Yeah.
And with this optimistic mindset that you're constantly training yourself to really adopt and to really implement into your life, it's kind of game over on the sense of it's not that you're not acknowledging the bad, but you're making a choice to see the good, you know, and that's something that we talk about all the time. And it's got us so far.
Yeah.
And I do want to acknowledge what Ish was saying when it comes down to me is I try to make sure people just see me as a perspective that it's no, I want to say limited timing. It's no one way to obtain success. All I'm doing is having major faith, major go get, because I'm going to go get it for us, just like he's going to go get it for us. And education and formal education is the same thing. And all I did was maximize the fact that I've worked very hard to educate myself on the things that are needed for myself as a professional and Project Optimism. And it's been a ripple effect.
Yeah, and that's amazing. I love how both of you guys were talking about different leadership styles and complementing each other. I want to do something a little different here that I haven't done before. How would you guys each describe your leadership styles? So Ish, what would you say?
Let me go first.
Okay, Armoni, you got it first. How would you describe Ish's leadership style and then vice versa for Ish?
Ish is dope. He does not play. The thing is he does play. So look, this is what messes me up sometimes is he's hecka funny, right? But the time when I'm trying to be funny, he like, bro, come on, let's get serious, you know? But he's very intentional, very, very intentional, which I need at a lot of times. Things need to be laid out the way it needs to be laid out from beginning to end, which we need. He is really good with being direct with people. See, me, I don't like the big homie people, you know, so I got to work on that because we are the bosses at the end of the day. We have the vision, right? But he's like good with delegating and making sure people, like I can bring the people that we need to delegate to, but he's good with being able to give direction, you know? And so I sit back in the cut and just watch him because I'm learning every single time me and him are working with our teams, our interns, volunteers, everything. So like to a sense, he just has a lot of qualities that complement where I probably just need to work better at, right? But then at the same time, that's why partnership is so, so important, you know? And I don't take him for granted. I don't take our team for granted that's here in Sacramento because I let them know, no, I want you to maximize who you are and how you show up because it's only gonna make us better. So it's something that me and Ish been talking about. We adopt. It's on my background, so much stuff on my background, but it's Ubuntu. And like going back to what he said about him feeling guilty about his master's program, I said, no, bro, like everything that you do is only enhancing us. Right. Your higher version of who you are is only going to elevate us. My higher version of who I am is only going to elevate us. And I just needed him to be clear that what you're doing is only bringing us to the next level. So I know I got off the rail.
That was good though.
I needed to say that. I needed to say that because that was important to me for him to know throughout that sequence of that 3-year stint. But he could talk about me.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Go ahead, bro. Do your thing. I'm gonna get these Skittles. Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah. No. One of the things you had mentioned is his ability, or he had mentioned his ability to bring in folks together. I think I strive for perfection a lot. Like I said, I know I strive for perfection, and Armoni is real. He's real genuine when he says, "I just want you to do your best." He put his mentee on in the position and put him in positions to lead, knowing any gaps that he may or may not have to do or carry out that that role on a quote unquote professional level. He's like, I just want you to do your best. We'll figure that out. And I think that has allowed me to really embrace the fact that everyone is an expert in some way. And I think when we come in and the people that we serve, they don't need these perfectionists and these folks in the suit. They need someone to keep it real and let them know, like, I'm struggling too, but I've already got over this hurdle, and I just want to make sure you make it over this hurdle with me. That's right. And I think that's helped me really reframe my thinking about leadership, where I'm creating these high standards and getting disappointed when people aren't meeting them. Because that's really affecting me, which can affect the organization. But it's like, let's embrace that growth. Maybe the organization didn't take it to the next level, but the organization has allowed two people to take themselves to the next level. Whether they work for Project Optimism or go wherever, they know that Project Optimism gave them a chance, and now they're making the world a better place. And that's overall what we're here to do. Go ahead.
This is off topic, but I just want to say, making a difference is fun. It's hard. Yeah. It's hard, but it's fun. It does feel like a game sometimes. I'm thinking like Zelda, where you like get to the next level and now you got to figure this out. Like, it's really, really fun, but it's not to be played with, because we're dealing with lives. We're dealing with lives. Right. And I know that was one of the things that, you know, me and Ish probably both struggled with in our past jobs, where people will come in for a paycheck, and we're not set up like that. We're not built like that. I always say, ain't no opting out of this. I can't hide my skin, you know? And so I feel like that's what makes us, and same thing with you, take it to the next level, because this is not really a job. Right. This is literally affecting us right now. This is affecting our future kids, or the next generation. Everything that we're doing is going to help or hurt what's happening that's ahead of us, better yet. And so for us to have, we can't cuss on here, have ASS, I don't cuss anyway, but you get it. That's really going to affect the big picture. And so we don't play with that. You know, we have a lot of fun. We make sure that we create events that people can have a good time at, but it's still intentional. It's bringing awareness and raising money for needs in the community, which is our events for a cause. Which I ain't gonna lie, we haven't really got to kind of tell you exactly what Project Optimism does. So maybe we should go there for you too before it's over.
Yeah, tell me what is Project Optimism, and then also if you could tie it with, you know, as you guys are talking about big picture in the future, like what are you guys hoping to accomplish in these next few years as you guys have been expanding? So yeah, let's start with, you know, what exactly is Project Optimism, the kind of the mission, and some of the objectives that you guys are trying to reach.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Project Optimism is a community-based organization that's designed to foster optimism amongst community members. And we do that through our community engagement, with us community service, community funds, scholarships, et cetera, through consulting. So working a lot with schools to just give them this equity, social justice lens to better serve the youth and the parents, because it's all together. Our events for a cause is, again, a part of our community engagement, raising money for community or organization, or just bringing awareness and bringing people together at the end of the day. Right. And then we have our K through college curriculums and programs, which range from mentorship, adult transitional age development, mentorship. I don't know if I said that already. Yeah. And the list goes on, because
it expanded, like from year one to where we're at now. Right. We've grown. We've been able to realize, oh shoot, we could do that. That's value. Oh, there's a price tag on this. Okay, we're charging it because we want to be able to put that back into the other stuff that we're doing. You know what I'm saying? And so that's real. And then we talk about our pillars. Our pillars is leadership, mentorship, optimism, education, and community. So that's how we're coming every single time.
Amazing. And yeah, go ahead, Ish.
I don't even know what I was about to say. Never mind.
So let me set you up. So what's the future hold for you guys? What does it look like in the next 5 years for Project Optimism, whether it's Sacramento, LA, or even beyond?
Well, this is one thing that I think that your listeners, your followers should hear. One thing that me and Ish are going to do that's intentional is that foundational work, the things that make Project run on its own, like without us, is a social responsibility that we have to have for the organization, that it can't just rely on us. Yes, we got it started, but we want that baby to walk, crawl, walk, and live his life on its own without us. That's very, very pivotal. And then another thing that we just looked into recently was some insurance that'll allow, like if something was to ever happen to me, that it'll have some funding to be able to hire the next CEO or whoever to make sure things are happening in Sacramento and vice versa.
Wow.
We're not playing with this. Like, we understand that it's a real thing when it comes down to what's happening. And I gotta acknowledge, because this is something I've been struggling with since it happened, but we've worked with those kids that got murdered at Arden Mall. Those are kids I actually, like, it's as much, we take those 2 steps forward, all the greatness that we just was telling you about and all the impact, but yet it's still some unreachables that we really, beat ourselves up about it, because it's a big picture in a system that we didn't create, but yet we still have to deal with, you know?
Yeah.
And so we're going to be optimistic until the day we die, but we understand that there's some real things happening that we want to interrupt, we want to be a part of, but sometimes it's tough. So I don't know why I did all that, but I just needed to make sure I told y'all that, because I've been struggling with it. Y'all.
I would say, and I don't know if Marty received this, but I want people to understand that Project Optimism is not like a passion project or like a quick side hustle type of thing. This is a real organization that we have established and that we are continuing to build. So it's going to have, it's legitimate. Like, we're doing everything, you know, from hiring, having human resources. And we haven't mentioned this before in the beginning, but neither of us come from a background of MBA degree, human resources, and all that stuff. We really just have the passion for the community. And that's what's allowed us to take advantage of the opportunities that have come our way, adjust, pivot, learn, fail, all those different things to continue to climb. So I think, like Armoni was saying, put ourselves in a position that we don't have to be the CEOs. Like, we both have other stuff that we aspire to do in our entrepreneurship efforts. We both are building our speaking platforms. We've been sharing message of optimism and hope and love and all these different topics to the community. If I don't have to be the CEO, then if someone was better than me, or if I had the opportunity that I wanted to create, I'm perfectly okay with stepping away at some point to let the organization run. But I think the other part of it is not that it is just an organization, but that it is a lifestyle enhancer, catalyst, whatever the word that we're going to use, because outside of our Project Optimism staff and volunteers, we need the whole community to have this mindset of about themselves and about the community, right? So if everyone's optimistic about their opportunities and what God has in store for them, they're going, like I said in the beginning, they're going to move it different. But then also, if everyone has this mindset of looking back and giving back to the people, not feeling like I have to get this degree and then I'll give back, or I have to become a CEO and then I'm about to teach folks. Like, lift as you climb. It may take a little bit longer, but if we all elevating it together, then we can't lose. So I don't know if folks watching this play rugby, but one of the things in rugby, if you're playing defense, you stay in a straight line. And when you have gaps, that's when people can break through the line and score or try. So again, we want to make sure we're all moving together, because if that one person moves ahead, that's a lane that someone can kind of come through, and we start seeing people losing their lives or taking their own lives. There's a lot of stuff that's going on in the world right now, you know. So we really want to impact folks' lifestyle and mindsets, whether they experience Project Optimism, work for Project Optimism, or just see it from afar.
That's good, bro.
And I appreciate, man, just the work. Like I said, I got to experience it a couple of years ago, and just seeing Armoni, you know, even more recently, I think in this past year or two, you know, just the interaction across Sac State and really in the city of Sacramento, right? And just you know, I see you, man. I see the work that you guys are doing, and it's exciting to see the work now in LA, right? So, you know, just kudos to you guys for doing the work and bringing the community together, especially during this time, and where you guys have already acknowledged it's been very hard, you know. And so as we kind of wrap up, I want to kind of end on this note. And if either of you guys can start this, but I want you guys to fill in this statement. And the statement is, every leader needs this. So based on what you know, what you've experienced, the things that you've been learning through Project Optimism. Every leader needs this.
I instantly said God, and then
hey, that's funny. I said faith, but go ahead.
No, but faith. And what I was thinking is the universe, just something that's what we're trying to tackle with this leadership. You might not see the harvest, right? So therefore you have to have faith that what you're doing is enough. So that's the reason why we probably went with the synergy on that. But like, have a higher power, so when things get rough, you have somebody to give it to. You have some type of spiritual connection to give it to, because that is a burden that nobody should hold by themselves, but we're big on mentorship. So therefore us as mentors have to have mentors. It has to be that 3 chains. And we're big on that, as in you should have mentees that you're pointing to. You should have peer mentors, like all three of us on here. I almost said 4 because I counted Ish twice. all 3 of us on here, and then you have to have people that that's stronger than you, faster than you, smarter than you, more well off than you. All those things. So that would be my thoughts.
Yeah, I would say faith for sure. Just to kind of add on what you said is, it's draining too. It's fun work. It's fun work for sure, but when you're not seeing the results instantly, you have to have faith, like, okay, God's going to take care of that student who just went through our program that never showed up on the camera, but they would respond. Like, I hope I reached them. I hope they really heard. And for us to kind of go back to our daily lives after that workshop, or, to the next program,
right?
I'm very confident that Armoni also constantly thinks about those kids.
Absolutely.
And thinks about the noise we heard in the background, or the noise we didn't hear. Like, is that child at home by themselves? You know what I mean? So having that on our burden, it could be very draining mentally, just as humans, thinking about all the kids that we serve and the lifestyles and the things they get exposed to. So having God, it's like, okay, God, you put me in a situation to lead this program, and you put this child in this program. So use me in the way I'm supposed to be used, and I'll leave the rest up to you. And that kind of takes a little bit off the strain. I wasn't actually going to say mentor as well, but if I don't say mentor, I would actually say they need to take some losses. They need to take losses.
I don't call them losses, bro. What we call them? Lessons, baby.
Call them lessons. No doubt. But
I hear you though.
Yes, but what I would say is, to that point, is I've learned the most about the L's that I've taken, about myself, and about just working with people, about organization. Because every time I take an L in whatever situation, because I have such a passion for this work and what I'm trying to do in the world, I'm going to figure out an alternative way to make it happen. And that like he's saying, that loss became a lesson. So I learned from it. I said, okay, now I at least know I can't do that, right? And there's a quote by like Einstein or someone, and it said, like, I didn't fail 1,000,000 times or 1,000 times. I just found 1,000 times of how not to do it, right? So I'm still learning at the end of the day. So I think for any leaders watching this is, embrace those difficult times that you're going to experience, because that's going to prepare you and put you in a situation where you're in a more challenging situation. You're going to know how to navigate a little bit easier.
Yeah, and Bernardo, I know you got to go. I just got to add, it's knowing who you are. Like, we get to do self-development with these youth all the time, but it's so empowering to know that I am working on myself while I'm looking at a mirror, AKA this young person in front of me. And the reason why it's important to have those values, those agreements with yourself, is because it's going to be storming, it's going to rain, it's going to be a drought, it's going to be all these things. But when you have that foundation, you good, good. So like, what are you built on? This big old story building that could be Project Optimism, it could be Ishmael Pruitt, it could be Bernardo, Armoni. What is the foundation? So it has to be the spiritual. It has to be your personal values, the things that you won't waver, the things that for sure is yours. It was already promised to you, and you can't lose. And it's nothing somebody can tell you. A won't tell you that it changed, and an F won't tell you that it changed. Yeah, like those are the things that will keep you, especially when you're in leadership, because people are looking for a reason. It's easy for somebody to be like, see, I told them, doing it. You know, people are looking for that reason for them to be able to be okay with that. And so we are held at a higher standard.
Definitely.
You know? Now we shouldn't beat ourselves up about it, because obviously these are lessons and opportunities to grow when you make mistakes. But ultimately, you can't keep on making those same mistakes. And I think that's the second level, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, 100%.
This is therapeutic, bro. This is a
100%.
podcast is therapeutic, bro.
Yeah,
How much we owe you? How much we owe you?
100%, man. That foundation. I think about, you know, buildings, right? If you want to go cheap, you can get a cheap foundation, and there will be consequences with that building, right?
Yeah,
it will only last for so long. So the foundation is really the key. So I appreciate you guys having those solid foundations that's continuing to build and impact not only your team, but the communities, right? Not only here in NorCal, but SoCal, and, you know, hopefully beyond. So I thank you guys for your leadership, and I thank you guys for spending some time to answer some questions and sharing your journey with us. So wish you much success. Please stay safe as we end this 2020 year strong and heading into 2021. So that was another episode with my brothers, Armoni, Ishmael. Thank you guys. Catch you on the next one.
Solid.